Dajia as they say in China. So, the new Snyder cut of Justice League was released last week, and I have to say, I was absolutely shocked because it was excellent. Before watching it, I watched a review by this YouTuber, and he really loved it. But despite that, I was not very optimistic at all going into watching this film. I remember about a year ago when this film was announced, there was a YouTube video asking viewers if they thought it would be any good. And I took a page from The Office's Dwight Schrute and commented, let me put it like this: no, it will not. Because I had heard that the original version of Justice League that Snyder had almost completed before departing the project was unwatchable. And I was not too impressed with his first two DC movies. I don't know how you fuck up a Batman versus Superman movie, but I was really disappointed with that movie. And it's hard for me to compare this movie to the Whedon movie since I couldn't even watch that entire movie. It was so bad. I think I got through about half of it and just had to turn it off. I mean, I watched all of Tim Burton's Batman movies and Joe Schumacher's Batman movies. I watched Superman 3 and Superman 4 all the way through, but could not watch more than half of Whedon's Justice League. However, I pretty much agree with everything this other YouTuber said about the new Justice League. Almost everything about it was terrific. I especially love the Wonder Woman sequences, but I do agree with him that the parts that focus on the Flash were a bit creepy, and the scene where he saves Iris West was set up pretty crudely and sloppy. I mean, it wasn't quite as bad as that stupid scene in Wonder Woman 84 where you, at the very beginning, you got these rednecks tearing down the middle of downtown in their hillbilly mobile for no particular reason. And Wonder Woman has to step in and kick them out of the way of a jogger. I mean, I think I'm remembering that correctly, but it was still pretty lazy and definitely something you would never see in a Marvel movie. And I think this YouTuber liked the Steppenwolf. Is it Steppen or Steppenwolf? I don't know. I'm a big comic book geek. I don't think I ever read a single comic book with this character in it, but I think he liked him a little more than I did. He said it was a big improvement over the Whedon Steppenwolf. Like I said, I don't really remember too much of that movie. I just tried to block it out after I stopped watching it. And I mean, I thought the character was done okay, but I don't think I liked him as much as this other YouTuber liked him. And one other thing I didn't like that I don't think he talked about was that I hate seeing that goofball J.K. Simmons playing such a serious, iconic character like Commissioner Gordon. I didn't even like seeing him play J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. I mean, I could just imagine those morons at Warner Brothers thinking they were so clever to cast the guy who played J. Jonah as Gordon, but I've actually never liked that guy. For some reason, I get a creepy vibe from him, and also I'm not too crazy about the whole nightmare subplot and the suggestion that Superman is destined to become a villain or Lois Lane is going to be killed by, I think it's the Joker, I'm not sure, but overall, a great film. After watching this, I really hope they continue this series and we see these actors play these characters again in future movies. I mean, let's just forget about this stupid Robert Pattinson Batman movie with freaking Paul Dano playing the Riddler. But anyway, in celebration of this great cinematic accomplishment, which is Snyder's Justice League cut, I've decided to rate and rank every EU movie that has been released so far, except for Birds of Prey, which I didn't see. Okay, so I'm going to rate each movie and then rank them from worst to best. My ratings will either be horrible, bad, okay, good, or excellent. Okay, so first off is Man of Steel. I'll be rating them in the order that they were released, and then I'm going to rank them from worst to best. Okay, so first off is Man of Steel, the first DCEU movie, directed by Zack Snyder and released in June of 2013. It was made for a budget of $225 million and grossed $291 million. And I rank this movie as okay. It was certainly much better than Bryan Singer's Superman Returns, but not nearly as good as Richard Donner's original, unfortunately. Yeah, I wasn't crazy about fat, four-eyed Pete Ross, who was a bully. And that scene where Jonathan Kent sacrifices himself to protect Clark's identity, I just didn't buy that. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm just going to move on. There's a lot of other things in that movie I didn't like. Okay, next is Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. That came out 3 years later in 2016. Great way to plan a big franchise. Release movies 3 years apart. Have the second one come out 3 years later anyway. This was Ben Affleck's debut as the Caped Crusader. This movie cost $250 million to make and grossed $330 million, so less than the last two Christian Bale Batman movies that didn't have Superman or Wonder Woman to support them. And that's kind of pathetic, but the movie was still fairly entertaining. I especially liked the Flash cameo. So I'm rating this movie as good. And the movie probably would have made more had they not released it in March, which is not a big month for movies. Originally, it was supposed to be released in May to kick off the summer season, but then Marvel decided to schedule their Iron Man 4 movie, Captain America 3 movie on the exact same day and kind of forced BBS into another release date. Okay, next was Suicide Squad, which has actually been one of the EU's most profitable movies. It cost only $175 million and made $325 million, nearly as much as Batman vs. Superman. Still, I think coming out with a team villain movie before a Justice League movie was a mistake. It would have been much better if we had seen these characters in other DC movies first and then bring them together. I think what happened was that Warner Brothers just couldn't wait to do a movie with the Joker, who, for some reason, is always box office gold. I don't really understand that, but that's the way it goes. The highest grossing Batman movie of the original universe was the one with Jack Nicholson, and the highest domestic grossing Christian Bale Batman movie was the one with Heath Ledger. And, a lot of people didn't like Jared Leto as the Joker, but I did. And I wish he had been in more of the movie. That's one thing I didn't like about the movie. But the movie was done in a decent way. Could have been a lot worse. So I give this movie an okay rating. Next was 2017's Wonder Woman. A movie that, from what I understand, the studio had absolutely no faith in, but turned out to be the biggest blockbuster of the EU, making just over $400 million against a $150 million budget. Now, this movie got great reviews, but I actually wasn't that impressed by it. And I really wanted to love this movie. I liked the character of Wonder Woman, but I just couldn't. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either, or it wasn't great. So, again, I give this movie an okay rating. Okay, so next, later, 2017 was Whedon's Justice League. Oh my God. Again, I don't know how you fuck up a Justice League movie, but Like I said earlier, I could not even watch more than half of this movie. Like John Schneider said about the Dukes of Hazzard movie, this movie would had to have been considerably better to be horrible. And I guess that's why it barely made 200 million against a $300 million budget. Next is Aquaman. Came out 2018. So who would have ever thought that a fucking Aquaman movie would be better than a Batman versus Superman or Justice League movie? But you know, I gotta hand it to James Wan. That boy can really direct. The what was that movie? The Conjuring, Fast and Furious 7. Yeah, he's very talented, I gotta say. And I give this movie an excellent, just an absolute movie marvel. So, like I said, released in late 2018 and made for a $200 million budget. It did not make as much as Wonder Woman did in the US, but globally, it's made more than any other DC movie. You know, not just in the EU, but any DC movie, including the Bale Batman movies. That's globally, not domestically. And it is truly King of the Sea and the DC box office. Next is Shazam, released in 2019. This was the lowest budgeted movie of the EU up to this point at $100 million, and it grossed $140 million. I seem to remember this movie getting good reviews, but I really didn't like this movie. I mean, Shazam is such a fascinating character. There's so many possibilities you could do with this character, and I think they just really dropped the ball. And can't remember who directed it, but yeah, he's not a very high-profile director, if I remember correctly. And yeah, Warner Brothers, they just screwed it up. I rate this movie as bad. Next was Birds of Prey from 2020, another DC dud. Cost $84 million to make and made $84 million, according to Wikipedia. It was the first EU movie that failed to break the $100 million mark. And like I said, I actually have not seen this movie, so I can't really rate it. But I will say that this is another movie that should have been built up to and should have been foreshadowed more in other movies. You know, I think a big mistake that Warner Brothers made is just not being patient enough and not planning ahead enough with their universe here. And next is Wonder Woman 1984. I mean, I was really looking forward to this movie, but man, it was absolutely horrible. Not bad, horrible. I already talked about that stupid scene in the beginning. But then there's also a scene a little bit after that where you got these typical cartoonish thugs robbing this jewelry store. And then for no explicable reason, one of them drops his gun as he's leaving the scene of the crime. And of course, someone sees this and starts going crazy. I mean, come on. It's just. And Wonder Woman has to come in and save the day because he takes this little girl hostage, and then she takes out the cameras after she's done all her heroics and feats of strength. And then there was also a fact that the villain was this blonde-haired white guy, and then in an obvious attempt to pander to the audience of China, they gave him a Chinese son. And yeah, it was just, oh, oh, I don't know. I don't know what to say. It was horrible. And the last one is Whedon's, or not Whedon's, Snyder's Justice League movie, which I've already said was excellent. All right. So that brings us up to date. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rank these movies from worst to best. Which one do you think is my favorite? I think it's pretty obvious which one is my least favorite. And at number 9 is Joss Whedon's Justice League. Number 8 is Wonder Woman's 1984. Number 7 is Shazam. Another thing I didn't like about this movie is I wish they would have called him Captain Marvel. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, this character was called Captain Marvel before Marvel's Captain Marvel came out. But anyway, yeah, it's number 7. Okay, so these next group, the next 3, they're kind of like pretty close together. One's just barely ahead of the other one, but number 6 is Suicide Squad. And just barely ahead of it is Man of Steel. And then just barely ahead of that is Wonder Woman. I think Wonder Woman just a little better than Man of Steel. That's number 4. And number 3 is Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Now, you might be wondering why I said earlier that I was really disappointed in this film if I liked it enough to give it a good rating and rank it at number 3. Well, it's because this was fucking Batman versus Superman. The first time these two characters appear together on screen, or I think in any live action venue, I mean, I just expected something really epic from this, and also the difference in quality with this film and my number 2 film was quite substantial compared to the difference between number 2 and number 1, or even number 4 and number 5. All right, almost there, almost at the end. So we have 2 left, Aquaman and Zack Snyder's Justice League. So who was runner-up and who was number 1? Okay, the number 2 ranked EU movie in the DC universe is Aquaman. And again, like it was really close between Aquaman and Snyder's Justice League. Aquaman was fantastic, but I have to say, despite Ezra Miller and J.K. Simmons, I have to say that this movie was just a little better than Aquaman and earns the crown as the greatest EU movie so far. Again, I was completely shocked by how good this movie was, but they say you have to suffer to make great art, and Snyder has definitely suffered a lot over the past few years, and he obviously took that pain and channeled it into making one hell of a movie. So my hat's off to you. Very well done. That's going to do it in this video. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions why I ranked a certain movie the way I did, or you have any disagreements with my ranking, or if you agree with my rankings, please let me know in the comments. So as they say in China, 再见.